Mental Training 101. And now back to Get Warrior Tough with Dutch.
All right, we're back. Dutch and Andrew. Andrew and Dutch, Get Warrior Tough, most monumental hour media anywhere. If you want to call in, 855-856-1380. 855-856-1380. Hashtag Get Warrior Tough on the Twitter. And I just got a text from my wife. She said, shocking, hashtag PJs, or PJs, hashtag shocking. So here's what happened, okay? So we come in off the podium. We're done training. I've been up.
Hashtag.
Yeah, right. I've been up, on the podium training all day. I'm exhausted. Dutch has been back there kicking it with everybody, drinking coffee, hanging out, eating M&Ms. He comes over for the show tonight. Now, that was at 5 o'clock. Took him to dinner, come out. I'm exhausted, man. So I lay down for a minute. I'm not going to lay down in my suit, so I got my, my sweats on. Dutch comes over in his shirt and tie. I'm like, really, dude? We're going to be on the YouTube channel, and you're trying to make me look bad?
Hey, I know nothing but excellence. That's all I know.
Oh,
I don't know
come on.
I don't know how to be a slacker.
And then you said, I figured you'd take your pants off, but I figured you'd still wear the shirt and tie. Come on, man.
Pause, man.
Like they do an anchor man, where I'm in my shorts and my sneakers, but I'm wearing a suit jacket. No, man, I'm in my PJs. Dude.
I feel that slacking. I'm always at the top of my game. I don't have any excuse for still being in the shirt and tie. I have no excuse.
Because you just like wearing it around the house. My dad, man, in the 50s, they would wear like the shirt and tie and the jacket around the house. They'd be like in a suit, and then they put a hat on when you went outside.
Wow, that's
you remember
funny.
that? You can't like
that's
that
the black and white days. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's
50s.
how they're lounging, man.
That's when.
My wife's like, shocking. I'm in my PJs. So listen, it sounded like a love fest with us and Travis, but I got to tell you, dude, and now he's not on the air. That dude is phenomenal. He'd be a phenomenal coach. You just said he'd be a phenomenal recruiter, and I said, yeah, he just recruited me to take him to dinner right then and there. So he is fantastic.
I had the opportunity, the pleasure of seeing him in very stressful situations mentally, not just physically. I know a lot of our listeners that follow Clemson football have seen him in stressful physical situations. I've seen him in stressful mental situations, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And he's a high performer all around.
Absolutely.
And I couldn't be more proud of him. He's getting married this summer. I'm going to be so excited about that. The guy is just the type of guy that you want to be around.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy that I'm around him. And I'm happy that he appreciates me being around him. We gravitated towards each other
if he
from
did
day
have one flaw, that would be it. That he wants to hang around you all the time.
I thought you were going to talk about his physical weaknesses compared to mine.
Yeah, that was last night, you guys. He's like, I can still stronger than you, and you're like, no, I can still. I'm like, come on, Dutch man, you're 100, man.
Yeah, my grown man strength will still take him out though. He knows. He knows.
You guys going to arm wrestle when we go out for dinner tonight? Holy smoke! No, so this is good though. We have a good time, and we have he is a fantastic individual, no question. Okay, and I know it was a giant love fest, but I wanted everybody to kind of be exposed to him as much as possible. As much, you and I, we can't just hide him and keep him to ourselves. But he's here's a young guy in his early 20s, and he just gets it, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I couldn't be more proud of him. But we've been all over the place today. We've talked about helping young people, expose them to the material that we have to offer. We talked about our experiences with the command staff down here in Florida, the law enforcement officers. We talked about that.
Talked about you eating candy and leaving wrappers in my car. Oh, let me just say the irony of us being in Tallahassee, and we have Clemson football on the show today. We have Travis Coleman. Oh, and I would just like to say you almost got us beat up when we came in because you're wearing your Clemson shirt. We come rolling in. They're like, wow, you're flying your Clemson colors proud down here. Now, this is Florida State country. They hate each other. Yeah. We almost got beat up, and Dutch started mouthing off. And
then, look, I tell you what, just like Clemson beat him on the field, we'll beat him off the field. I'll smack somebody around off the field.
They're like, oh, yeah, what happened in that national championship game? And you were like, yeah, oh, that's right. You weren't there. You don't know. I was like, come on, man. We're not
right in the forehead. Right in the forehead.
All right, so what I got here, I have a list from Inc. Incorporated, 5 signs that you're not a true leader. 5 signs that you're not a true leader. It's like the top 5. Number 1, you use your title as leverage.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. And we see that a lot.
We do. They use positional power instead of personal power.
Yep. And there's no substance in a name. You know, what do they say? A rose by any other name would still smell as sweet.
Something like that. Something about lipstick and a pig.
Yeah, if I'm more focused on the name, that doesn't mean anything. I want to be more focused on the substance. Who you are and what you do.
The title. I never use my title, and I mean, because people they call me Dr. Wittman. I'm like, that's my dad. You know, when I was a federal agent, I was a Special Agent Wittman. I'm just Andrew. In fact, Dutch, this is what I'm going for. I'm going to be like Cher and Madonna, just Andrew. Just Dutch and Andrew. I don't need a last name. I don't need a title. It's just Andrew. But yeah, so that'll have enough substance for you. But if you're using your title as leverage, you're not a true leader. If you're using your title and you have to use, we were talking to the law enforcement guys, and we were talking today about we've all had these awful bosses that would be like, well, you better respect the rank. And the only reason I'm telling you I respect your rank is because we don't respect you as a person. And that happens in the military, too, sometimes. So if you're using your title as leverage, you're not a true leader.
Absolutely. I want to be respected irrespective of any rank or any type of role or anything. Right. I want to be respected other than that.
And when you're CEO of you, people will respect you because you respect yourself, and that's the key right there. And you even said that to Travis. He took care of himself first. He led himself first, then you lead others. Number 2, 5 signs that you're not a true leader out of Inc. magazine. This is an article written by Nicholas Cole. Number 2, you blame others, not yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that might have hit home right there with some people. I think that's a very popular one, whether we do it ourselves or we notice it being done to us with our superiors. So you don't want to be in that ballpark there. That is toxic. That can destroy a relationship in an office. That can destroy a department. That can destroy an organization.
Yeah, and it totally wipes out your credibility, even if it isn't as apocalyptic as that. Now, I used to watch that Celebrity Apprentice show or The Apprentice show with Donald Trump. Before he got into the political thing, he was like a reality star. Before he ramped up his reality TV game, he was a reality TV star. But anyway, I would never, and the project manager, they come in, you have to bring people into the boardroom. I would never even bring people in, because if I'm the project manager and we failed, guess what? Just fire me, man. I'm not bringing anybody in. It's my fault. I'm the problem. I'm the solution. If we didn't perform, I can't blame somebody on my team because you didn't lead. They taught me this in the Marine Corps when I was started instructing people in leadership. They would say, hey, Wittman, if the student failed to learn, it's because the teacher failed to teach. And if the follower fails to follow, it's because the leader failed to lead.
Absolutely. When I was teaching the kids at Penn State, I had a situation where I had a few people fail a test that I gave. And if you don't know, teachers can tell when you have prepared. And one way is your grade.
Well, that's a good way.
but I would always design a test so I can tell with certain questions. I can tell whether you read the material. So I'm setting you up. I'm letting you know. So I'm finding out if you were doing what I asked you to do. So I had a group of students who failed, and I expected better of them. So I called each of them in afterwards, and I basically was allowed to do this because I had established a previous relationship. When you let people under you know that you care, they'll allow you a certain amount of latitude, right? So in kind of sort of way, I kind of threatened them. Hey, look, I know you didn't prepare for my class. If you do that again, I'm going to knock you out. I know you're supposed to be getting an A in here. I know your potential. I know you, yada, yada, yada. Your disrespect. I feel disrespected when you don't prepare for my test. And so we went around this whole thing, and so we talked about my expectations, the way I saw their capabilities and all that stuff. Each and every one of them, I went through that. They apologized. It'll never happen again. Each one of them got A's in the course, not because I decided to give them A, because that's the way they performed. Because I felt like if you don't perform, then I'm not a very good teacher. I wasn't putting it on them. I'm saying, look, I feel disrespected.
So you can't blame the students for not preparing if you didn't make it interesting enough, or you didn't hold their attention enough. If you failed. Right now, I love that.
And in order to not, because I'm going to look at myself, and when I looked at myself, I'm thinking, okay, I did everything I thought I did. So when as having a conversation with them or designing a test a certain way, I can tell, okay, you're not doing your part. I'm working my best for you. Now you need to work your best for me. Now you got to gain some of that credibility before you can have that conversation sometimes.
Yeah, they got to know you care. And you said that at the beginning, and this is a huge thing. That's that's really the next one here on the list, number 3. It kind of rolls into that as being emotionally inconsistent. You're not a true leader if you're emotionally inconsistent. And I just got to tell you, Dutch, this is what we teach this all over the place. Most folks we run into, and this is not a judgment, it just is what it is. Most folks are emotionally inconsistent because they can't even name their emotions. They have no idea. It's just a jungle up there in their head. It's that there's no process of thinking their thoughts, and the emotions are just running wild. So it's kind of Jekyll and Hyde, and we've all had those bosses where you kind of check who came in today. Is it the good boss or the bad boss? And even though it's the same person, then you wonder, man, did they take their meds? I don't know what happened. So if you're emotionally inconsistent, you're not a true leader. And it really does start like with caring. If you care for your people, and I'm having a bad day, I'll say it like that, because all of us have a bad day. If I care for my people on a consistent basis, they know that. And if I snap at them while I'm having a bad day, they know, hey, you know what, that's out of the norm, and they'll give me a free pass.
Absolutely. And there's even levels of that, because when you have a certain emotional IQ, you know how to mask that. You know how to function.
Yeah. Even
within that realm, you know how to function. So it's not going to be as bad as a person who has no control over their emotions.
Right, and I like that. And we just to take it back, I'm going to use sports as an example. When we see these guys that celebrate wildly when they win, or they throw their gear down, and when they lose and kick the ground or whatever. I see this in I see it in high school sports, I see it in college sports, I see it in professional sports. That's like the roller coaster. And what we teach is that they're like manic on one side, they're really up, and then they're really down on the other side. That roller coaster. We want to smooth that roller coaster out. We smooth the highs and the lows out, so we don't have too high of a high, we don't have too low of a low. And that's how we become emotionally consistent, as we take the bumps out. We take the valleys out. You take the mountain peak, and you get so. When my oldest Drew was wrestling, right, he was so great at this that his body language and how he would shake the hand of the other wrestler, you wouldn't know if he pinned the guy in 5 seconds or he got pinned in 5 seconds, because he was emotionally consistent. You couldn't tell by his body language if he just got beat down or if he just beat the other guy down. And so that's what we want to teach our clients, to be emotionally consistent, and that's one of the signs that you're not a true leader if you can't do that.
Now that doesn't mean you can't hate losing.
Oh no, I don't want you to like losing at all.
Absolutely,
we hate losing, but that means
but
I'm not showing. Yeah,
that display of emotions is big, and that doesn't mean you can't celebrate. Now, because I'll celebrate in the moment. The thing I don't like is celebrating things that shouldn't be celebrated.
I'll celebrate by doing backflips on the inside. I mean, I'm not gonna lord it over anybody. I know that's your personality.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna have good, because for one thing, in sports, it's still a show. It's show business. It's a show.
Yeah,
now, you can't take that. You can't take that in the office space. You can't take that into a professional environment.
No,
we know sports is fantasy land. Yeah, we know sports is a fantasy land. It's not the real world. But even in that fantasy land, your peers are not going to respect you if on the other end you don't know how to handle the downside of it. So now they'll allow you to celebrate if you can handle the downside with the same professionalism. So that's why I say, hey, man, have a great time. Celebrate, because this is show business.
If you can
Those people pay that money to
see
see you shine, go for it. But the day's going to come, the day of reckoning's going to come.
Yeah.
When you lose, you have to have the emotional capacity and the ability to stay in that professional moment and not to sink to those depths that we've seen some people do. Your peers are not going to respect you.
All right, so we got a couple more of these. We're up on our last break. So you're listening to the Get Warrior Tough radio show live from Tallahassee, Florida, with Dutch Coleman and Andrew Wittman. We'll be right back.